Thanks for tuning in once again, and today we're going to be covering mood, personality, and magic. We'll be building on our 12 archetypes and the color wheel of magic. Also, remember that our color wheel of magic is also our color wheel of approaches to how to solve problems. Now, we're writers, we're writing about people. People's personalities change. They can turn into completely different people when stressed or excited. There is a nifty tool that a lot of writers swear by, known as the Enneagram. It's yet another one of these personality indexes, but it really has a following. Now, all models are wrong, but some are useful, and this one definitely comes under the heading of useful. Now, Enneagrams in a nutshell. First off, it's a circle. That's a great start. Now, they also stress that the important thing to keep track of is the number, not the name. And while they do attach names to things, it's better understood as, that's just a useful tool. What they really care about is the number. So in addition to having archetypes, where have I heard that before? They also have ego fixations for each of the types, a holy idea for each of the types, a virtue, a vice, but the real plum of the whole system is that you can map how somebody's approach is shift depending on whether they're feeling secure and integrated or stressed or disintegrated. So, for instance, a number 1 becomes a number 7 in an elevated state, or number 4 in a stressed state. So, at first glance, they're a circle, we're a circle. If we can somehow kind of line up the keys, maybe we can just use their system off the bat. And we can look at their number 9, whose virtue is action, whose vice is sloth, and that kind of sounds like our forceful personality, our hedonist. And if we look at what each of the numbers predicts as a virtue and a vice, and we walk around the color wheel, if we squint, it actually kind of lines up. It also does a pretty good job. Let's see what happens when we look at our core emotions for each of the archetypes. So, it's passable. I'm going to hit the I believe button. But how does it work? That's what I struggled with. Now, in reverse engineering it, have come up with an idea. And if it wasn't real, as in, this is too strange for me to make up, I would totally have the evil twin Skippy icon in the corner here. But this is a real thing. It's called a golden angle. Nature uses it. And plants use this golden angle to legislate how they're going to grow leaves so they don't overlap. You can also see it inside of the, when you see sunflowers, the center of that's where that pattern comes from, is this growth pattern of when what direction is the new seed in the middle going to come out. And the neat thing is you can create this pattern and run it forever and you won't repeat. So I'm just going to show you it at a glance. Here we've got 2 nodes, and we started at L1, and we're going to L2, and we're just following that many degrees around the arc of the circle. And we can go to L3 by taking L2 and going that same distance around the edge of the circle. And we can just keep doing this for 4 nodes, for 5 nodes, for 7 nodes, for 9 nodes, for 12 nodes, for 16 nodes. And we haven't repeated. So if this was a regular polygon, we would have tripped over ourselves by now. But you can run this out for dozens or hundreds before you'll actually retrace over your steps, but it won't actually retrace over your steps because it'll be slightly off. It's one of these beautiful chaotic patterns of nature. So let's try to replicate our results using the golden angle and see if they bear a passing resemblance to what the Enneagram says should happen. So our hedonist, they're number 9. My golden angle predicts that we would end up with a right or a jester. And the Enneagram says it should be an explorer or a rebel. I mean, we're in the ballpark, but let's keep going. So their number 1 is a cusp between our ruler and our performer. Our arrows here seem to predict that it's going to be, in an elevated state, a straight custodian or a cusp between a rebel and a mastermind. The Enneagram says that we should be a right or a cusp between an artist and a mastermind. I mean, not exactly in the win column. All right, so a number 2. The golden angle says we should have a soldier. Or a soldier or an artist, depending on whether they're going up or down. The Enneagram predicts we should be a soldier custodian cusp or an artist mastermind cusp. That's a solid win. And then our number 3. We predict that in a depressed state they're a philosopher, in an elevated state they're a performer, but the Enneagram says that it should be an explorer or a hedonist. I mean, we're in the neighborhood. Now, a number 4, let's see. We say it should be a jester or a right. They say it should be a right or a performer. So we're starting to drift a bit from their patterns. But it could be where we assume the number 4 is. It should be over a little bit. Who knows? So clearly, I mean, we're producing something similar, but we're not getting their exact results. To which I say, I'm going to go with my own results. So the reason why I prefer going with the golden angle over the Enneagram, even though the Enneagram, people swear by it, is, well, we're getting the effect. We're not getting the exact predictions, but we're getting the effect. But we can explain where our effect is coming from. And honestly, we're dealing with personality. It's so subjective. So now that we have a concrete way of dealing with a character who has to deal with, being in different emotional states, well, there are tropes in literature that are built around characters who have to be in an elevated or depressed state to do their particular magic. So once again, we've got our color wheel of magic here and our color wheel of approaches. So let's look at the drunken master. The concept here is that they're a normal guy, but when they want to use their superpower, they have to get drunk. So let's think, okay, we want them to end up in the quick approach because that's our dexterity and kung fu skills. But anywhere in like orange or yellow. So what we would do is we'd say, okay, start him off as a philosopher in his normal state, and then if he is super relaxed or enlightened or whatever have you, he goes up to a rebel archetype, our clever approach. So he's normally careful, You get him drunk, he turns into kind of a reflexive sort of guy, and when he's relaxed, he's kind of a thinker. Here's another one. Take the opposite. Somebody who needs coffee for their magic. Our Janeway. She's a completely different character when she doesn't have her magic. Doesn't have her coffee. So let's model her as in what you find in military command is your officers are either an explorer or a ruler. They're either completely care for their men, or they're an absolute tyrant. Well, what's interesting is if we start Janeway off as a soldier, if she gets her coffee, she goes to the explorer state. And without her coffee, she's in the ruler state. Somehow the producers of Star Trek created a character who is that perfect manic depressive who can run an entire starship. We also see it's not just shifting around the color wheel, but some characters can control which emotional state they're in, and they have to enter into a meditation either before battle or even in the middle of the battle to get their whatever in place so that they can perform their miracle or their kill shot or whatever it is that they do. And you also have certain characters where the emotional state is their superpower. When they get angry, they turn into a monster. And that's not just the Hulk. There's characters in Greek literature that have that same superpower. Then you also have the characters that, to do their magic, they have no emotional state at all. They have to be completely detached. They call this the Tranquil Fury. So, I've put together something here. It's fun to play with. I wouldn't try to diagnose people with it. But then again, we're writing fiction. Fiction's job is to be truer than reality. So sum up, people have moods, so should your characters. Many characters in literature have radical changes with mood. You can model these with our 12 archetypes and the golden angles. And if your magic system is emotion-based, these same rules can be useful for figuring out your character's quirks. All right, we have upcoming, I got a 3-minute guide for each of the archetypes in my queue to do. I'm also going to be putting together a little 20-minute on how to improvise stories with a deck of cards that I've put together built around this color wheel and constellations. And you can actually download that on DriveThruRPG, or you can order printed cards. And if you've liked these 3 talks, I have an entire paper on my blog with tables and graphs and all the equations. And you can peruse that to your heart's content if you're I got to see the numbers sort of person. Hey, thank you so much for sticking with me, and I'll catch you in my next show.